Welcome to the French Drainman channel. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood. In this video, we are going to show you how to drain a yard that's flat with no slope. We're going to show you how to take an area, a really large area that is flat and is typically saturated. After a rain, there's no way to get the water out. It just sits and sits and sits and takes weeks and sometimes months for the yard to finally set up to where you can mow it. We're going to go through a unique system and we're going to explain to you all the details. So stay to the end so that you could benefit from knowing the A to Z process of covering a flat yard with no slope. Now, we have a walkout basement on a lake lot, so there's a lot going on here. We're going to put in a sump pump in the sump pump pit, and we're going to slope all the trench that you see in this yard towards that sump pit. We didn't want the sump pit near the lake. We wanted to dig the sump pit further away from the lake so we're not recirculating lake water. This is a technique that we've been using for years and years, and I can't stress that enough. If you're building on a lake and you put the pump in right up next to the seawall, you're going to draw in lake water and you're going to be recirculating water. The pump is going to run and it's not going to shut off. So you want to slope all your trenches towards a sump pump pit that's further away from the lake, and you're hoping to find clay. So you have a sump pump pit that's clay lined so you're not pulling water, because I've seen lake lots where you can pull water from 200 feet away if it's a permeable soil. Now, in the comment section of all my videos, people are always saying, what do you do if you don't have a storm drain to take it to? And what do you do if you have no slope? What do you do if your yard is just flat? And we have been showing more and more of the sump pump systems. I tell everybody in the comment section, if you want slope, it's easy to find slope and it's easy to get slope. You put in a sump pump system and you run as much slope as you want. If you want 1% slope, that's a pretty shallow dig. That's easy to achieve. If you want something a little bit more, then go ahead and do 2% slope. With a sump pump system, you can go as deep as you want. Now, this is a French drain grid. A French drain grid is something that we use on all flat yards. It doesn't matter the circumstance. If I have a storm drain catch basin, if I have a ditch, if I'm taking it out to a stream, it doesn't change. We do a French drain grid where you just see this hash mark. You see where we have a few lines going one way, a couple lines going the other. That's pretty much standard for us on a really big flat yard. You're going to dry it up and you're going to tighten it up. Now, we're going to use a bad seed outdoor sump pump system with 4 feet of additional chamber. I'm going to show you this system in action. I'm going to explain to you the benefits to that additional chamber length. Notice how this walkout basement lot, you have the side yard all running into the center of the backyard. When you're taking all this surface water from both sides of the yard, and you have sheet water coming off the roof, and you have sheet water coming off the deck and the brick paver patio, you end up with such a high concentration of water in this flat area. You're asking so much. How are you supposed to dry this up? So you want to put French drains through this area. The water's going to find the voids in this French drain. So the pipe creates the largest void. You get more void with more pipe. We used end plugs to cap the French drain pipe, and the guys ran as much pipe as they could get in this trench. We want to dry this yard up. We're going to be moving air through this system the majority of the time. You have to imagine that. The more void, the better the French drain. The more void, the quicker it's going to dry out the yard. The more pipe you put in a trench, the more clay or non-permeable soil that you excavate and replace with void, more pipe, large round rock that has a lot of void. you're going to end up with a better drain system. If you're just renting a trencher and you trench a line and you put one pipe in and then you put a little stone on top and then you push dirt back in, that's not going to work too well. So here's our bad seed with 4 feet of additional chamber. And here is our French drain grid. We got a cross tee everywhere we have an intersection like this, and we connect the bottom pipes. Don't worry about connecting the top pipes. You're just creating more void to move more air, and you're providing more on-site storage. You can see how we start and or finish these pipes with an end plug, or you can use an end cap. We prefer the end plug because it's barbed and it don't get knocked off. And we like the internal tees for our French drain grid. We get a better connection and the pipes lay flatter on top of one another. Now you have to remember, the more pipe, the less stone. So when you're looking at how can I install this massive system on all my own sweat equity as a DIYer, you want to put in as much pipe as you possibly can. I can't emphasize that enough. Not only does it increase the amount of air that you're moving through the system so that it works better at drying out the yard, not only does it create more on-site storage, but it's less back-breaking labor of wheelbarrowing stone in. Now, don't worry about how you end your French drain in your sump pump pit. The water's just going to fall out of this pipe and end up going right into the sump pump system. We have holes in our sump pump system, so keep in mind anytime you do a fully contained French drain system where you take the double punched drainage fabric, the non-woven double punch drainage fabric, and you're going to contain the entire system. You're going to use this drainage fabric as a soil separator so that you're not mixing the soil with your stone and you're not filling your French drain pipe up with dirt. When you do this, you don't have to put in a distribution box for your French drain system. What is a distribution box, or short D box? That catches debris before you get to your sump pump system. Well, we have a fully contained system, so we can just run the French drain pipe right into the sump pit and just let the water fall out of the pipe and go right into the outdoor sump pump system. The way we build our systems, it couldn't be easier. You're not trying to line up the pipe with the outdoor sump pump system. The water just flows from the pipe into the sidewall of the outdoor sump pump system. Couldn't be easier. No more struggling with trying to line up, pipe for connections. And the reason why we like to use a horizontal chamber is here in the north where the ground freezes, the frost can't heave it and screw it up. That's what happens here in the north. The other reason why we like the horizontal chamber is we stop the pump from short cycling. I can't even begin to tell you how bad short cycling is for a sump pump system. Remember, round rock has bigger voids than crushed rock. You want to use a good clean round rock. We're using a landscape rock. It's a cobblestone. It's an 1.5 inch cobblestone. It's round, so you can see all the voids it creates. Look at all those dark shadows in that stone pile, all the void that round rock, when it's piled on top of one another, all those round rocks create such large voids to move air and water. You can't get a better drainage system than that. Let's go through the fittings that we used on this job to connect all our pipe. We have the internal coupler for a really good connection, and we have the end plug for the termination of the pipe. We have the internal T so that we were able to make really good connections, and we have our cross T. Those are the fittings for this job. You want to ensure really good connections for the bottom pipes so that you don't have pipe coming apart. We have plenty of void. We have the big round rock on top of all the 4-inch pipe that creates such a large void and such a large amount of on-site storage. Why do we want on-site storage? Well, if there's failure in the sump pump system, if there's a power outage, or if the backup generator doesn't run, if something happens, we want the water to be able to be stored on site until power is restored. Now, if you have an automatic irrigation system, you will have no problem growing sod over a system like this. We take a sod cutter and we cut the sod out on the deepest setting, and we get as much dirt and root as we possibly can when we cut the turf grass out. We put it right back on top of our French drain system that's wrapped, and it grows just fine as long as you have an irrigation system. Now, if you have a scenario where you do not have an irrigation system, you're going to want to put less stone in and burrito wrap it and leave more room for some topsoil and sand mixed. That's what you want to do. You want to mix topsoil with sand. You want to create what we call a sandy loam, and then you could grow grass on that. Now, we ran our discharge line in 3-inch Schedule 40 so that if an aerator hits it, it won't hurt it. Inside that 3-inch Schedule 40 is an 1.5 inch flex, and it's one piece from the sump pump system all the way out to the lake. In the winter, the frost moves everything here in the north. So I want a one-piece line from the sump pump system all the way across the yard to the seawall so that the frost can have its way. It can move that line, and it's not going to create a break, or it's not going to create a disconnect. That's what I worry about with hard pipe and all the connections, all the glue connections in the frost. You're going to end up with it coming apart. You're going to end up with it separating, and you're going to end up with failure. So with a one-piece 1.5 inch flex Schedule 40 inside a 3-inch, you end up with a real reliable, a really, really beautiful installation. So here's the beauty to our added chamber on our outdoor sump pump system. I don't care what part of the world you live in, when you're trying to reduce cycling on a sump pump system, you add chamber to that outdoor sump pump. If you just put an indoor system outdoors, you really did just give your sump pump an early expiration date. Sump pumps wear out at the switch. They're turning on and off, on and off, on and off so many times that you just wear it out. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's magnetic, mechanical, it doesn't matter. They all wear out when they're under repeated use like that. When you have a big chamber that stores a lot of water, once the sump pump does turn on, it runs for a really long time. Then it gets to shut down and allow that chamber to fill up again, giving it a break, and it's reducing all those cycles. You only have so many life cycles in every sump pump. If you found this information helpful, please give us a thumbs up. It supports the channel. And if there's a video you'd like me to make, leave that suggestion in the comments. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.